Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda sedang menonton Agenda AWANI dan Agenda AWANI sentiasa melihat ke depan. Untuk melihat ke depan, kita perlu melihat sekarang apakah kapasiti yang kita bina. Dunia semakin berubah menuju ke ekonomi digital dan diterajui oleh penggunaan aplikasi teknologi. Di manakah Malaysia dalam konteks ini? Dalam bajet untuk tahun depan, Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri telah pun memasukkan pemikiran dan juga polisi serta peruntukan untuk ekonomi digital, dan tidak ada yang lebih memperhebatkan fokus dan juga usaha dalam ekonomi digital kalau tidak pada startup ataupun syarikat mula dan modal troka. Dalam konteks itu, saya ingin minta izin bicara bahasa Inggeris. I would like now to move to English, but before that, sebelum itu, kenalkan tamu saya yang paling hampir, Fazil Irwan Muhammad, Pengarah Eksekutif Yayasan Forum Ekonomi Islam Sedunia ataupun WIEF. Beliau juga Ketua Rangkaian Pemimpin Muda Forum Ekonomi Islam Sedunia. Dia banyak kuasa dia sebenarnya, pegang topi tu, pegang topi ni. And there's also Daniel David. Thank you so much for coming with Fazil. I know it's not easy to come with Fazil. He knows a lot of people around the world, especially the Islamic Economic Network. But Daniel looks at he project coordinates IdeaLab and startup initiative of the WIF Young Leaders Network. Now, I was first exposed to WIF when I was attending the mothership of WIF, which once a year will be held in interesting places around the world. He's been here 3 times, I think, in Malaysia. And when I was called by Tun Musa, the great man behind WIF, into a sort of a post-mortem discussion, and I kid you not, it's only the young leaders who were given most of the chance to speak. And it was such a refreshing tone to see many young leaders from Islamic countries or otherwise. They don't have to be really Muslim per se to give their views. And it's very refreshing because the conventional economists look at conventional stuff. The Islamic Economic Forum looks at conventional stuff also with an addition of other stuff as well. So that's why I'm coming into this discussion. WIF IdeaLab is in between the two big of this year and next year's forum, WIF. But WIF IdeaLab looks specifically at the new economy, at startups, and pitching and all those sort of things, especially for the young. We also have a women one, and that's another day because that's in another country this year. Yeah. But I want to go back to Fazil now, and I think if we look at the 13 largest startups in the world, and Wall Street put them as wallstreet.com, at least 24/7 wallstreet.com, put Uber as the largest so-called decacorns. There's unicorns, and those of you in the startup world will know unicorn is the special status you get when your funding goes above $1 billion US. Or they rate the value of Uber to be at $66 billion US, and decacorn is above 10 billion, so that's the largest decacorn in the world right now. And I think it's still a non-public tech company. So when we talk about startup ecosystem, because it's mainly driven by new application technology, it's already at that level. Yep. We're talking the level of Uber and the rest of the gang. So the next Facebook, the next Google will have to come from a startup environment. At least that's the race.
Naturally.
Is this the thinking behind IdeaLab?
Yeah, I mean, we are here to basically shift the focus in Southeast Asia. As you know, Southeast Asia is the fastest growing market when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to startups. Of course, it's fast growing because the environment here, the market here is growing very fast. And ASEAN is coming in with the AEC, the AEC community. So a lot of things are happening in ASEAN. So a lot of investors, a lot of interest, business interest is actually looking at Southeast Asia at the moment. So you can definitely bet that there will be a lot of interesting developments coming from
The
this
gaps before was said to be, I sometimes don't like to use this term, but ecosystem. Because if you say Silicon Valley, then it's a no-brainer that, you know, it's so easy to bump into a venture capitalist, to bump into somebody who's done startup like multiple times, serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But in Malaysia, you know, you still need to convince people, huh? Selling things online? Boleh buat duit ke? Can you really get money? You know, don't you have a shop? You know, I think we've moved a bit from there, but it's still there in the background somewhere. So how would you rate Malaysian and Southeast Asian ecosystem? And then we can go to Daniel because he brings the world view to us.
Well, the tech space is interesting because, especially on the startup space, is because the reason why there's a lot of attention in the startup space is because the scalability of startup businesses is huge, because we are talking about businesses that don't have much capital requirement, they don't have much overhead costs, they don't need big offices or huge expenses to expand. For example, if you look at you know, traditional businesses, in order for you to expand your market, you do need to you know, increase your expenses to buy another shop or whatever. In the case of a startup, your expansion does not commensurate with your expenses because it's all global, it's all tech, it's all out there. So that's why investors, for example, are looking at this as the next big boom, for example. So yeah, as I said, in Silicon Valley, as you said, you know, things are all sorted out. It's a saturated market.
Here we need all the help that we can, right?
We need the help, all the help that we can. But we also have a lot of interesting, because the startup world exists because of imbalances or things that needs to be solved, things that needs to be provided in terms of a business. So there's a lot of room to improve here in Southeast Asia. Hence the interest in the region. Yeah.
I want to go to the innovation and creativity part also. I think Daniel, who curates and look deeper into the activities and the people and matching them to the crowd or whatever else, and he came all the way from his own country to be with us in KL. And I'm going to ask also, because sometimes in Malaysia, we do fall into this tendency to, you know, look at what we do and why it's good. But I guess it's very enlightening to also hear it from somebody from the outside, having been here and looking what's been tried to do. Because when I go to Jakarta, they say, you guys are so lucky. The government practically gives you almost everything for you to be an entrepreneur. We don't have it like that. We don't have that luxury. So I don't know, you can give that dimension too, and also what you're looking at, you know, a lot of VAVA-VOOM initiative for IdeaLab this time around. All that after this short break. You know, we're still talking about this very happening event on the 31st of this month and the 1st of next month. And it's called the WIEF IdeaLab. Anywhere in the Klang Valley, please make your way to Times Square. That's where it will be hosted this time around. I began this discussion with the Decacon status of the darling of the investment communities of the world, which is Uber, at 66 billion valuation. But there's others like Snapchat and whatever else, and they are all Decacons. But coming closer back to our own area, if you look at Asia, you know, you'd see Xiaomi, and also you'd see Flipkart from India. So we want to see Southeast Asian born projects also going there, because if not, we don't have leverage into the front line where the race is happening. So I guess with that, I want to go to Daniel, because let alone unicorns, sometimes just to find thoroughbred horses in these parts of the world is also a challenge. Maybe less so now, but still a challenge nonetheless. So how do you look at coordinating IdeaLab and you know, matching what we have here But sometimes you've got to look at Southeast Asia from the outside to see what are the gems here that we must build up and use to move forward. I believe the unicorns and decacorns of the world are not just one idea to be replicated across many other countries, but many other countries can give in diversity to create the next level of innovation.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. There is some way to look at it from the outside and seeing, having a bird's eye view of the startup ecosystem here. And as you mentioned earlier, that the government, as Indonesia does see that Malaysia is getting a lot of help, assistance from the government into the startup industry, and it's a good thing. But I think things can always be done better. So currently, as the government is, they also need a lot of private participation to bring it in,
Especially private equity, right?
Yeah,
And
funding, yes, VCs, angel investors, but not only that, but even in terms of ecosystem players like law firms and incubators. So all these, it's more sustainable when it's coming from the private sector, when it's profit driven, than when it is from the government. So I believe here in Malaysia especially, there are a lot of government-linked institutions that assist startups, quite a lot. But I believe, like I said before, things can be done better in terms of making them more cohesive. If you're a startup, when you start here, most startups wouldn't know where to begin. I mean, where do you begin to, where do you move to next? So it's necessary to kind of make everybody play a certain part and help startups move to the next position. So I think private sectors can do that a little bit more efficiently than government agencies.
Agree. It's not a zero-sum game. It needs everybody to come in. But if you look at this from outside Southeast Asia, how would you see us?
From Southeast Asia, from what perspective exactly? I mean, coming from just abroad, how it is?
From your own home country, when you look at this side of the world.
Oh, okay.
What was the perception before, and how do you see it now?
Okay. So the perception before was that Malaysia is moving really fast. I mean, because that's the general outside perception. When you get, oh, okay, these guys are doing this, and there's so many initiatives to do startups and pushing them forward. And then when you get here on the ground, things are a little bit more, I guess, complex.
Reality
than that.
check, yeah.
Yeah. So it is not as smooth as it appears to be. So there are a lot of, I would say, chinks in the chain that could be fixed.
But most of that is more bureaucratic rather than structural gaps, right?
Yes.
So I would say that the pervading feeling is that Malaysia is positive about startup moving forward.
Yeah,
it's just that we need to get our act together and smooth it out. So I guess this is one this is one of the platform that IdeaLab wants to help bridge.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. One of the things that we really want to do is really to map up the Malaysian startup ecosystem. Really, because I think, as you said, there's a gem here in Malaysia when it comes to the startup ecosystem, and it's really just putting who are the key players in the ecosystem, what do they do, map it out so that for the benefit of startups in Malaysia, but also in the ASEAN region as well.
Okay,
for those who are
let me
interested.
put the other hat on. If I'm somebody who wants to start a startup, the biggest question in my mind is only one thing: capital or money. So how does IdeaLab look at that? Funding.
So IdeaLab has will bring in two types of investors. There will be the angel investors, where we are partnering with the Malaysian Business Angel Network, MBAN, and also venture capital firms from the major ASEAN markets, plus Japan and New Zealand. They will be coming to the IdeaLab. So these two types of investors have different investment portfolios or investment requirements. So, for example, if you are a small business, you are at the ideation stage of your business. So, chances are you'll be looking at. The people who might be interested in what you do would be the angel investors. These are high net worth individuals who are looking for to give out seed investments. So they are looking at companies on the ideation stage who already have an idea, not necessarily traction, but have an idea or perhaps already have some organization. Cool. But for VCs, that's more of a serious investment. So this is where you look at companies who are a bit more matured, they have already a crew, a team, some traction in their business, and are looking to basically commercialize. Yeah. So that's where VCs come in.
On the part about as a startup, your first issue, of course, as you mentioned, most people believe that the first problem is getting capital.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think the first problem is actually proving that your product has a market.
Yep.
Because when that is settled, then you will get capital. Okay. If the investor believes that what your product has a market and will sell, then investment isn't an issue anymore.
But I don't have enough capital to make my first prototype. If only I can make the first prototype, then you will see and you will dump the million with me. I'm sure it has come across Fadil's path and desk all the time, not just for IdeaLab, but also WIEF proper. So we're going to go for our last break, but once we are back, I want to marry the need from this side of the world, which is we have capacity and we want to help generate more entrepreneurs or technopreneurs. But on the other side, technopreneurs and entrepreneurs sometimes feel that, yes, I hear you, but once I go to the door is so difficult to be price open, you know, it sounds easy, but I've pitched for so many times and never get anything. So let's go to that reality check right after this, because at the end of the day, innovation is supposed to solve a problem or make something better. So if that is the case, then let's go back to that basic and why is it difficult to do something that's really good? And with the WIEF network and contact, they have the alternatives straight on. So let's talk about that after the short break. We're so proud of My Taxi and Grab now, and many others, Lorry.com, many others, and because it's important to have role models for others to follow, especially in our side of the world. However, having said that, even if you don't have a role model, you don't have anybody within 3 layers of family members and friends around you who has been in business, who has been an entrepreneur or a technopreneur, don't worry. Platforms like IdeaLab is exactly for that. You can come just blank, but you can leave full of ideas and full of inspirations. However, to put that to the test, I'm going to put this back to Fazil and Daniel. Sharia halal compliant industry is just what 1% of the conventional. So you can look at that and say it's too small, or you can look at that and to say, oh my God, I have 99% more to go. So from having been with the WIF events, from Johor to KL to Cordoba to whatever else to Dubai, it's what you make of it. You've got to have that right strategy going into events and platforms like this. And where in WEF Davos, you can't really get into the proper forum. You can only be on the sideline if you don't have 100,000 euros or something like that, or be in the club. So even for somebody who has no context, no ideas, they can still go here to what you have and have something. So that's my point. Or do you see it different?
Oh, yeah. We cater for even the baseline. So, I mean, we acknowledge the fact that, at the end of the day, Facebook began in the university, for example. It began in a dorm room. So this is what we're saying. We cater for all eventualities, for people who have business ideas, people who are aspiring but don't know where to look at. This is the event for them. It's basically just for them to be exposed that there is hope out there. There is hope, and there is such a thing called a startup ecosystem.
Even if they come bringing problems, trying to find solutions. Sometimes we coin it too much business-like, like you must have a business paper. But even if you bring a problem and you think you have a solution in terms of ideas,
Yep.
I still think that you can build something at IdeaLab.
Agreed, yeah. There's this term called the hackathon. It's basically hacking, finding solutions to problems. So this is really a startup term, and the origins of it is simple because in the startup ecosystem, you create a business out of a social inadequacy. So you want to correct that. So hacking is a very important thing. And in the IdeaLab event, there will be opportunities where startups or even students who wants to have conversations with other startups to find out what are the common problems, what are in society that we can try to solve. There's all that opportunities as well.
At the last IdeaLab in Bukit Bintang, I haven't saw young guys, and kudos to you guys. If I meet you guys again, I'm going to spend time with you guys. They just took advantage of the Q&A to basically pitch. Sometimes it's tough to have enough time in the real pitching session. So just raise their hand. I have this issue. Can I put to you what we have? But the speakers would engage, and I guess, Daniel, this is the spirit of it. Just go there, have the verve, and just communicate and just put it out there.
Yeah, I think the main purpose of events, most of the times people go to events to network, to meet other people and get known that they're doing something. They don't go there so much so to listen to panel discussions and so on and so forth. And we kind of made the program to fit that requirement. So one of the features of the IdeaLab is business matchmaking system. So before you once you're registered, before the event day, you can set up meetings with people who are already coming there.
Have you registered?
Of course. Because even if I don't register, I'm still presenting. So Daniel and Fazil, you have to come again. We have the business shows and business news that you can appear in. And of course, you can just Google WIEF IdeaLab and you'll find the contacts of Fazil. And also Daniel, thank you so much for making time to be on Agenda AWANI. Terima kasih banyak kepada anda telah mengikuti perbincangan ini. Jangan lupa 31 hari bulan ini dan 1 hari bulan depan, anda perlu berada di Times Square. Ia akan mengubah mobiliti hidup keluarga, komuniti dan mungkin negara dan rantau ini. Dan dengan itu, hantarkan pandangan anda sendiri kepada pelbagai platform media sosial yang ada. Buat turun aplikasi mudah alih iOS dan Android Asrawani. Dan insyaAllah kita jumpa lagi.